Hey HTA and welcome back to Ixion. We're at the end of the chapter where we still have some quests to do, but pretty much we've completed everything there was to do in this sector, and as you can see we have tons more of resources. So I figured why not turn our station into the most overpowered thing we can before we move on to the next chapter. We have 500 science still to go as well to research some more stuff to improve everything, so let's get to it. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably my most favorite part about this game. Don't get me wrong, I like all the parts of this game, but at the end of the chapter, just farming all these delicious resources, building up the base as far as we can take it, especially now we have over 500 science still to go, it's just amazing. It's really like a sandbox type of situation. But honestly, I'm not a huge fan of sandbox games because they feel kind of pointless to me. But in this game, this little part of the sandbox element of it at the end of a chapter really sets you up for success in the next chapter. So there's a point to it. Anyway, let's get going. Just as a reminder, we do have to keep in mind that we need to research all these things if we want to really set ourselves up for success. These are all the anti-Piranesi type of technologies to prevent hacking, prevent missiles, and prevent drone attacks. So all of these sound pretty useful things to explore if we're going to encounter the Piranesi pretty soon. We're currently in the process of upgrading our mining ships with an endoscopic drilling upgrade that will actually get us more resources from a node, so not just faster mining, but actually free resources. We can take that all the way up to 30, but I'm going to alternate this with a couple of other things. For example, I am going to upgrade the DLS center, and I now kind of forgot where it is. Oh, there it is. With, first of all, predictive behavior modeling, because that's the only thing we can pick. It's really cheap, though. The policy cooldown is reduced by 5 cycles. That by itself is not that interesting, but once we have this, we can actually upgrade the propaganda. And this means that basically we get a free +1 stability in every sector. This is just going to allow us to stick in this sector a little longer, as well as just make sure that we have a higher stability going into the next chapter. We're already doing very well on food. We have all the people that we can bring on board, and we have a lot of production of pretty much every single type of resource. Just making sure everyone stays happy is, I think, the missing link that we need to ensure success in the next chapter. Look at the little fire truck. It's actually finally going to put out the fires that we have all over the place. Well, not all over the place, actually. These two fires were actually resolved, but in order to make sure that we don't have every single thing going on fire in our sector, we do need to make sure we have these fire trucks. Actually wondering if I should be adding fire stations to the other sectors as well. It's only 5 power, although it is 5 power. You can always turn it off, I suppose, while we don't need it. I also want to kind of finalize the zones that we already have. So in sector 6, where all our food production is, we have another crop farm to kind of finish out the nice little symmetric layout that we have going on. With 3 of these stockpiles on each side, basically carrying various stuff. I can take out these stockpiles. We have more stockpiles than we need. Thank you for that message. And, well, we can build some more of these farms here. I'm actually thinking we should probably upgrade the fusion station as well, because I don't think one fusion station can actually keep up with 4 crop farms. But for now, that's actually not a problem, because we are producing way more food than we need. But we are rapidly adding people to our station now, so this is going to turn into a problem sooner rather than later. But you know, let's stick with the plan and let's go for the DLS center upgrades first. Seriously, I just put out the fire here and now the next building is on fire? Well, at least my fire truck is doing its job, and look, the fire is finally gone. The last buildings are being repaired. In the meanwhile, let's actually build a couple of things in this sector. Well, at least one thing at least. Oh, the health center. This is going to be able to heal 100 injured crew members simultaneously. And it can actually accommodate injured crew members from other sectors as well. So basically, once we build this, we never have to worry about someone getting injured ever again. Well, they will get injured, but this will fit 100 people from all sectors. So if you compare that with a normal infirmary, this only fits 20. So it's basically 5 infirmaries spread out across your entire sector. Now what else can we do here? We have a little bit of room for another stockpile over here, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it, but might as well make use of it. I want to remove this small little battery we have over here, maybe fit in one of the larger ones. Not necessarily because we need all the battery power, but at least keeping the zone up and running where we have most of our people living sounds like a good idea to me. Now then we have this little corner over here. What can we do with that? We should probably fit in another one of these cryonic centers. Maybe like this. That actually leaves a little bit of room for this little road. Did I actually finish that? Nope, I didn't. There we go. And then we have just a tiny little space for another home over here. We can have this little road going in here. There's a little bit of wasted space there, but all in all, I think this is a pretty efficient layout. And yeah, that pretty much finishes Sector 1. Now in Sector 2 we have pretty much all the space filled up already, but I'm thinking that maybe we can fit in a fire station, something like over here, just in case we need it. I have a feeling that when the Piranesi are going to attack us, we might need one of those. It's not that expensive, honestly, but you can just turn it off just to make sure it doesn't draw on power or resources, only when we need it. And actually goes for this one as well, might just turn it off and leave it as is until we actually need it. And with very similar reasoning, I'm actually going to put in a fire station in Sector 3 as well. We never want to get this thing on fire, so whenever that happens, that at least will allow us to turn that off as quickly as we can. This leaves a little bit of space in the back. Just adding in some batteries. Why? Well, mainly just because we can, and having power in the section that is actually keeping our space station intact is probably not a bad idea. So with our current technology completed, we're actually at a +3 happiness in most of our zones. I think we have one zone that's at +2, which is mainly in our industrial zone because we don't have people living in awesome housing. We're all living in these cell blocks, but hey, it saved us a lot of space to actually get everyone in there, so we'll just have to deal with it. But even a +2 is quite a bit of bandwidth in order to make sure we don't drop into a spiral of negativity too quickly. And so with our happiness under control, I want to start upgrading the fusion station. Now we can increase the production by up to, well, at least 20%, and then we can make it more efficient. So basically it produces more water with less ice, and then we can take that even further. So this is all very useful in order to make sure we can actually water our crop farms. But in order to get this, we're going to need the augmented building protocols in the workshop. In order to get that, we need the Stanford initiative in the workshop. This is actually not the worst thing in the world. This just makes sure that our buildings are automatically being repaired. And this makes sure that they're being repaired faster. Not the most useful, but hey, let's just take that in order for us to then start working on our fusion station. There we go, we have that completed. So let's turn to the fusion station and start producing, increasing the production. Now I do think the balance in this game has been done very well, because right now I actually want to start unlocking a new sector, but in order to do that I am going to need more power because I pretty much maxed out the sectors that I have and I'm using all the power that's in those sectors. In order to get some more solar panels, I'm once again going to need a lot more electronics and a lot more polymers. Now the polymers are actually not a problem, we already have almost 80% of what we're going to need. But 6 electronics is definitely the bottleneck. Basically everything I want to do now needs a lot of electronics, and that just takes a lot of time. That time is starting to tick because people are getting restless. We are staying in the system too long, and well, they are once again applying the permanent stability penalty. Of course, this is not actually permanent, it's going to go away once we actually jump, but still, we are on a clock. Well, the game just prevented me from making a giant mistake, because I was about to delete all the infirmaries when actually our hospital, our health center, caught on fire. And you know what you can't do when your hospital is on fire? Cure the people that are in it. Of course, you can turn off the fire, or at least put out the fire and then repair it, but that will mean if we don't have any backup systems in place, that we could potentially run into a giant problem. So, yeah, don't delete all your infirmaries is basically what I'm saying. Now, actually, with that in mind, for now, I'm going to turn off the health center for the main reason that I don't really know what we're using it for. We have infirmaries in every sector, and of course we could replace some of these with these, but this is taking me 40 energy and 50 workers. And if you compare that with a normal one, it's basically 10 infirmaries, and I don't have that many infirmaries in my entire station. So, yeah, not entirely sure if this building is actually worth it. It's really cool, but I'm not sure if it's actually optimal to have one. Now really, what's going on? Ever since I built my first fire station, we suddenly have fire popping up all across my station. Might as well just leave these turned on, and we also just reached the death toll of 100 under the current administration. So all in all, not too bad, I think, considering we are exploring space in a space station that's literally falling apart. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's an achievement for doing this without any deaths, but that seems almost impossible to me. Okay, so firing crop farms is a very bad thing, apparently. Makes sense, but yeah, that's a lot of fire there. Anyway, let's start fixing that power issue and start working on our almost lost solar panels. A fully upgraded fusion station is a beautiful thing because right now we're turning 15 ice into 60 water every 0.8 cycles. So that means that we're actually producing something like 75 water per cycle, and that's actually with only 15 ice. So at this rate, we're not going to run out of water anytime soon. Now, just to be safe, I'm actually going to research the Piranesi technologies first before we end up in a situation that we need to jump to the next chapter and we haven't done this yet, just to play it safe. Okay, this is actually really interesting. We got events popping up just randomly because we're defrosting all these people, and we're now defrosting people from the Atamananki as well. And well, basically our own people are not too happy about that because some of them actually killed, or at least UN forces killed many of their crewmates. So what are we going to do? We can send the Atamananki people to psychiatric treatment. That seems well, basically that's speaking our own people's side, so that makes sense. Or we can just say get along, and if you don't get along, we will send anyone who is angry at someone else to the care center. Or we can just say a little life free never hurt. I think this is asking for trouble. This is just rebellions, probably. So let's just say, play nice people, get along. Well, no immediate consequences of that event just yet, but in the meanwhile, I'm actually thinking we should tear down this health center. Not because I don't want it, but because there's 8 electronics sucked up in that we are not actually using because we had it turned off, and this will help us actually open up a new section. Now, I'm going to go for sector 5 over here. That's going to take 6 electronics. Anyway, 6 electronics, and hopefully there will be some electronics waiting for us on the other side. Every now and then that does happen. And the main reason I want this sector is not because we necessarily need anything at the moment other than space.
You can implement a new policy.
Well, I'm very happy that we can set more policies, but I don't really have a reason to. Now, actually thinking about policies or talking about policies for a moment, propaganda is giving us +2 stability, that's a lot. What we can actually do is increase the amount of food people are allowed to eat, and that will give us another stability. So far we have plenty of food going on, so with all the upgrades that we just did to the crop farms as well as to the fusion station, we can probably just turn up the food production for a little while, make sure the food is actually being produced, our waste is actually being produced as a result of that as well. And well, if we are ever in a situation where we are low on food but also high on stability, we can just turn it back down again. Would you look at all this beautiful space we have over here? Let's clean it up and let's get some basics going. Okay, there we go. Some basics to get things up and running. We need to collect all of this stuff from the floor as always. And look, there's 6 electronics waiting for us, which is the same that we invested in order to get here. So at least we're breaking even on getting the electronics in and out. And that means we have some electronics to spare to actually use elsewhere to kind of develop this sector. Now let's see, where are we going to go next? Now we have all the defensive technology in place. I'm actually thinking the domotic quarter. This is an upgraded version of the optimized quarter. It's going to fit a lot more people, and this is the highest quality accommodation that we can get for our people, so that should make them even more happy than they already are. After this, probably going to go for upgrading the mining ship, cargo ship, as well as the polymer refinery, just to make sure we have more optimized polymer production so we can get those lost solar panels in place. So I guess by now you know the drill of setting up a new sector. So we have some basic food and material supplies in here. We have a DLS in here for the propaganda and to turn on the waste management so we can actually import and export waste. We also have these nice brand new domestic quarters over here that are currently supplying us a +3 from people mostly living in there. So happy people in this brand new sector. We also have, of course, some food, and all of that is just very exciting, but it is the bare necessities in order to get started. Now, what I really want to do here is build a exo fighting dome that will provide 2 stability in the sector, and the bonus can be extended to each sector connected via a train station. Now let's see, this is a very large building, so it should fit right over here in the corner. Doesn't need any supply or anything as far as I know, and this is going to take a while to build because we need 450 alloy in there, but we have plenty of that, so that's not going to be a problem. We even have enough electronics as well. And let's see, we also need a train station, I think, so let's make sure we are building that as well. In the meanwhile, I'm also upgrading my polymer refinery just to make sure we have some more production speed and some more efficiency in here. And then once we have that done, I can also upgrade the waste treatment center to produce more polymer as well, just to make sure we optimize this production so we can really get those solar panels. I mentioned this a few times, but I can't stress enough how annoying it is to have to wait around for stuff to happen. After that, I'm not entirely sure if we still should go for the electronics production. We can upgrade that. It just feels that with potentially 3 waste treatment centers focused on that, the production is actually not that bad. It's just that we've been trying to build a lot of things at the same time. But at the same time, why not upgrade it while we can? And when you look at this, we have our own robots, I guess, fighting against each other, and people are very much enjoying that. Now let's check our happiness status. We're at +5 in this thing alone, but hopefully if everything's working like intended, yep, it also carries over to everything connected by a train station, which currently is everything. So we have a massive +2 bonus. Why is this not on... Oh, this doesn't have the people living in the nice homes, but other than that, everything is at +5 or even at +6, as you can see. So I would say we're doing pretty good. And that also means we're getting to the end of this chapter, I think. I mean, you can farm it out a little bit more, and we're definitely going to do that, but I have run out of science, so what I'm basically going to do is stock up on some more resources and thaw out the last few people. As you can see, we're up to 3,500 people already, and well, we have some room for some more stockpiles, so might as well make use of them. Now, actually, while we're stocking up on things, I noticed that I actually have a bit more waste that I can process through my waste treatment center. So why not just build another one to solve that issue? And the nice thing about this is this will give me more resources in return. Now, the reason I'm actually stockpiling waste a little bit is because we have a giant population, and all of these houses are actually producing a tiny little bit of waste as well. It's not much, but it's definitely adding up, and as you can see, we're kind of stockpiling some waste at the moment, so we need to make sure that we're at least making use of all the waste that we have. And you know what's better than 1 additional waste treatment center? 2 additional waste treatment centers. Not entirely sure if this is overkill or not, but honestly there's no such thing as having enough of these. The worst thing that can happen is that you run out of waste to process, and then they'll just sit idle for a moment. But you're not losing out on any production that way. I also built a fire station because I actually had a fire break out here once again. And I'm moving the mess hall from over here in the corner to here because I think we can optimize the space better if at least we want to build anything down here at some point. For the moment, I think we're kind of done building. We're almost out of power. We maximized all the solar panels now. We have a boatload of alloy, as well as all the other resources. There is one more thing that I want to do though, which is replacing all my optimized quarters with the domotic quarters. Is that how you pronounce that? I don't know. But anyway, replacing the medium-sized crew quarters with the upgraded version. Mostly to be able to store more people, but also, of course, to get the happiness boost in as many sectors as I can. If you're going to do something similar like I'm doing it right now, I do recommend first building the buildings that you want the people to move into before you start removing the other ones. Now, you won't be able to do that everywhere. For example, over here, this sector is completely full, so if I want to build anything new, I first have to remove the old building. And, well, you can always move some people out of this sector and then move them back in just to make sure you actually have the room for those people to relocate, but it is something to be aware of. Also note that I'm going to have to turn off my alloy production for a moment just because all my storage is full, and that makes it very hard to move stuff around if you don't have any place to put the things that you get from destructing your buildings. So a little tiny thing to keep in mind when once you get so many resources that you actually have stockpiles full of them, because it can actually get in the way. So I have to admit, this is not the most challenging process, but it is extremely satisfying just taking down these buildings one by one and then replacing them with the better version of it. And honestly, the modern quarters do look pretty good, so yeah, this is shaping up to be pretty awesome. It's also worth noting that I recommend doing this in multiple sectors at the same time, just because replacing them one by one is a lengthy process, and you do want to make sure you can actually keep operating the sector in the meanwhile. So doing it one sector at a time is not going to be much efficient, because you will need to go through the exact same process in every single sector. That said, keep in mind that you don't actually necessarily need to replace all these buildings, because as long as the majority of the people is living in the nomadic quarter, you already get the bonus. So as you can see, I have plenty of the old version still up and running, but I am already getting the +3 bonus all the way on the top. And considering this is taking some time, I've actually been producing some science, and we might as well put that to use. So I decided to research the history of violence. That sounds like a very strange thing to research, considering we are everything but violent at the moment. But anyway, this will give us a 1 extra stability in every single zone, because we have way more than those 3,000 crew members. And you know, while we're at it, we have almost 5,000 people in the station now as well, and that allows us to upgrade the high capacity terraces in the exophyte room as well, giving us another stability. I think we'll be good on stability for a very long time at this rate. Okie dokie, we have everyone living in very nice houses. We have an insane amount of happiness, +8 in most of our zones. The only exception to that is actually the zone... well, there's some accidents still happening, but other than that, the happiness is fine. We only kind of have, I think, a lower happiness in Sector 2. It's still +5, so that's really good. Mainly because we don't have everyone living in these demonic quarters here. We have some people living in cell houses, and they don't appreciate that much. But hey, someone needs to do the work. We actually have so much production now that some of our stuff can't actually be transported elsewhere. 1,000 alloys should last a very long time. We have some basics stocked up as well, so I think it's time to leave for the next chapter. Now take a good last look at our beautiful space station, because it's likely going to be attacked in the next chapter. If you're still here, you're awesome, and I hope I'll catch you in the next one while we take on the Piranesi.